Now it's time for Toker Talk Radio, the voice of the marijuana nation.
What are you people? On dope?
Where you can toke.
I inhale frequently.
Or you can talk.
I experimented with marijuana and didn't inhale.
Or you can toke and talk.
10 federal criminal penalties for possession of up to 1 ounce of marijuana.
While we talk about toke on Toker Talk Radio.
So, by the way, when it comes to pot, if you're 40 years old, you live in a log cabin in Oregon, you got 12 giant pot plants in your backyard, have a ball.
Live from beautiful Portland, Oregon at Rolla J Studios.
Hey, this is great. Just not cannabis.
Plus your calls live at 971-533-7111.
They're walking on their pants with their cap on backwards, listening to Enema Man and Snoopy Poop Dog.
What's to keep somebody from getting all potted up on weed and then getting behind the wheel? Gateway theory doesn't work. It's a reality.
Holland, is it real? Don't tease me.
We're locking up people that take a couple of puffs of marijuana, and the next thing you know, they got 10 years.
And now, here's your host, the guru of ganja graphics, the sultan of sativa statistics, and the worst nightmare of a reefer mad prohibitionist. A polite, perspicacious, productive pothead with a propensity for PowerPoint. Radical Russ Belville.
All right, welcome back, everybody. Time for Toker Talk Radio. This is where all the cool kids hang out. We let down what's left of my hair, and we get it on like Donkey Kong. Toker Talk Radio means that we do toke, and we do talk about toke, but it doesn't mean that toke is the only thing we talk about. You know how stoners are. We get together in a group, we'll talk about anything. We'll talk about how the universe was formed, how to solve world hunger, man. That's what we're all about. And so that's what's going to happen here with Toker Talk Radio as we continue. Because I was mentioning this yesterday, and I promise I'm not talking about guns today. But we mentioned this yesterday, and I discussed how, I want to make Toker Talk Radio more like a session where people are talking with each other, right? And I know a lot of times it's just me talking, so you'll just have to deal with just me. But we got a phone line. It's 971-533-7111. And I want to utilize that more, right? And it's like, hey, if you're out there just smoking and want to just call up and talk about what weed you're smoking, okay, we can talk about that too. But let's just make this a session, you and me hanging out and smoking weed and talking about what's going on in the world. And in the news, I did this story, got it from Leafly, about this ad for, and I watched the NBA game last night, and I don't remember this commercial. So I was kind of like, was I in the bathroom at the time or something? Was I not paying attention? Of course, toward the end of the game, it was pretty obvious that Cleveland was going to win, and so maybe I wasn't paying attention. But they played this ad from a soil company, right? Garden soil company. It's called Black Magic Potting Soil. The ad is called Growers, and they this ad shows people in small like apartments with kind of like closet grows and hidden grows. I'm going to play the audio from the commercial. I don't know if it'll give you the full, experience, but check this out.
These are growers. You'll find them above dive bars, basements, and under the cover of darkness. They seek perfection on a level that would drive lesser souls to madness. At Black Magic, we salute them. But they don't need our praise. They'd rather have our soil. Dark, rich, and crafted to deliver performance that doesn't yield to conventional limits. Black Magic. Yield to no one. Available exclusively at the Home Depot.
Black Magic. Yield to no one. Yield. Did you hear the word yield? Yeah, they said it twice. Yield. You'll get more yield. We can't say that. What a clever commercial. And the visuals, of course, are all these, young guys with flannels on, tattoo sleeves, right? Growers. These are growers. All right. That's during the NBA Finals, folks. That could have been a closeout game of the NBA Finals, and we've got grow ads. And again, like I mentioned in the news, they know who they're advertising to. This only ran in the Pacific time zone and the Mountain time zone. Wasn't included in the Midwest or the Eastern feed because there ain't no legal states out there. Yeah, they know exactly what they're doing, and I'm excited about this. You know, this is the first, at least the first that I can think of, non-fast food company that's just stepped right out and said, look, we're advertising to stoners. Now, we've heard, like, you know, Jack in the Box. They've been advertising to stoners since 2009. Okay, you remember those first ads, the guy in the messy van with the bobblehead, and he said, hey, it's late night, what can I get, man? You know. And the more Madison Avenue gets onto our side and the more other companies start realizing that we are a demographic to market to, the more we get our rights.
This is the Russ Belville Show on CannabisRadio.com.
From dabs to chivas, sativas to indicas, we roll out a whole concentrate of fresh new content every week. It's like going from the greenhouse to the dispensary. CannabisRadio.com.
Great websites today need expert web design and development and need to be e-commerce ready and mobile friendly. But building a marketable and profitable website can be an uphill climb. Ready to make your new website or replace your existing website? Think Orange as the new way to get in the black. Orange Hill Development works with Fortune 500 companies and offer the same top quality development service at a fraction of what other providers charge. Brands like Absolute, Carlsberg, and Nestea trust Orange Hill Development. Find out why you should trust your website with Orange Hill. Contact Orange Hill for a consultation today at orangehilldevelopment.com.
I'm Radical Russ from the Russ Belville Show.
We're here with Sir Richard Branson.
Far more damage is being done to people by the current approach.
Jim McMahon.
You know, a lot of the coaches are old schools. You know, he used to just yell at us, go, oh, you bunch of pot smokers.
John Popper on the telephone.
You know, I think in the 60s there was that kind of, the bigotry wasn't so concrete.
It's the Russ Belville Show, the NPR of POT, weekdays live at 6 Eastern, 3 Pacific, exclusively on CannabisRadio.com.
This is the Russ Belville Show on CannabisRadio.com.
With over 6 years of experience in the industry, New Era CPAs is one of the nation's leading cannabis accounting firms, helping hundreds of growers, dispensaries, and ancillary companies with their tax, legal, and business strategies. New Era CPAs offices cover the West Coast from Seattle to San Diego, and their skilled team is always available to help you take your business to the next level. Visit neweracpas.com for more info and set up a consultation. Welcome to the New Era.
Pod 2.0. It's not your father's Woodstock weed. This is the Russ Belville Show on CannabisRadio.com.
Welcome back, everybody, live from beautiful legal Potland, Oregon, where it's partly cloudy and in the mid-60s in freaking June. Come on, Oregon. Get it on. I'm waiting for that nice, sunny Portland summer. All right. So it's Toker Talk Radio, and like I said, this is going to be more of a Toke session. Hang out, smoke a joint, and we can talk about anything. And while I told you, I promised I'm not going to talk about guns, I'm not. We are going to talk about Orlando a little bit, because there's this story up on Leafly, another story that I found, that asks, can cannabis users donate blood? And June 14th is World Blood Donor Day. Talk about a strange coincidence, considering. But anyway, today is World Blood Donor Day, and they're asking, can cannabis users donate blood? And yes, you can. You absolutely can. The American Red Cross, the FDA, nobody has a problem with cannabis users being blood donors. According to Bloodworks Northwest, the Cascade Regional Blood Services, and Biomat USA, the three different groups that they got a hold of, this one says, cannabis use does not affect a person's ability to be a blood donor unless they are assessed to be under the influence as determined during the donor screening process. We cannot accept blood from anyone who's intoxicated with alcohol, cannabis, or prescription drugs because of the possibility of an unreliable history and the inability to give consent for the draw. The FDA does not require testing for THC either at registration or during testing for blood-borne pathogens, which all donated collected blood receives. Now, that's an interesting statement, I think, right? We cannot accept blood from people who are currently intoxicated on cannabis. And again, let's just accept that intoxicated is the wrong word, but we know what they mean. We cannot accept any blood from someone who's high at the time. And not because they're saying that the cannabis in your blood would then get transferred to somebody else, which, hey, that's not necessarily a bad thing. It's like, hey, this transfusion's pretty groovy. But no, the reason why is they say, oh, you might give an unreliable history. So what they're trying to say is you'd be too stoned to answer their questions properly. Right. Or the inability to give consent, right? You're too high to know whether or not you want a needle poked in your arm to give blood. Like, you know, when you read these kind of things, you're gonna like, do you even know someone who's ever smoked pot? Have you ever seen someone who's high? Have you ever smoked it yourself? Like, you people are acting as if you smoke pot and suddenly you're like out of your mind somehow. Anyway. But as they point out, FDA does not test for the THC. Cascade Regional said, blood banks do not test for THC. Unfortunately, I cannot provide any advice to give a cannabis user who would like to make a donation. But they don't test it, right? And finally, Biomat USA, your blood will be tested for your blood type and infectious disease markers, including hepatitis and HIV. These screening tests are to evaluate donor suitability and are not formal diagnostic tests. In addition, other tests may be performed based on your medical history or special testing required to qualify your plasma donation. Donors are also screened for syphilis, hematocrit, and protein levels. And the final word here from the American Red Cross. While the Red Cross does not encourage the use of controlled substances, marijuana or alcohol use does not necessarily disqualify you from giving blood as long as you're feeling well. If you've ever injected any illegal drugs, you can never give blood. Well, that's interesting, isn't it? You can smoke all the pot you like, but if you've ever once injected speed, coke, or heroin, you can never, ever give blood. And this kind of leads me into what I wanted to talk about with respect to Orlando. Television showed pictures of mile-long lines of people lined up to give blood to the victims, to help the victims of this mass shooting in a gay bar. But none of those people can be gay men. The FDA maintains a ban that's been in place since the mid-'80s on gay men donating blood. Now, of course, mid-'80s, think of the timing, middle of the AIDS epidemic when Ronald Reagan wouldn't even say the word AIDS, that there was a lot of panic. And the fear was we can't let gay men give blood because then there'll be HIV in the blood. And then the people get the transfusions, get the HIV. And indeed, that's happened. People have gotten HIV from blood transfusions. However, the technology has changed since the mid-'80s. They can detect HIV infection within 9 days of being infected. And yet, the only change to that policy has been the FDA now says, okay, well, it's gay men can give blood, but they have to have been celibate for a year. What? So come on now. Celibate for a year, but we can detect HIV in 9 days. It's ridiculous. It's insane. And it's also, it's a little unfair because gay men aren't the only people with HIV, right? They say get the injecting drug users, right? If you've ever injected. But they're still not the only people that have ever gotten HIV. And if we've got a way of testing for HIV, why don't we just... it's just so frustrating, folks. I just feel for that community knowing that, how many gay men that directly knows someone who was shot or killed in this massacre who can't even donate blood to help. That's just insane to me. But we can. So cannabis consumers, and we ought to do this more as cannabis consumers, as normal chapters, as SSDP chapters. Organize blood draws. Bring your whole normal chapter to the Red Cross one day and donate blood. And you know what? Get high before you do it. Let's donate THC blood. Maybe that's what we can't say it, right? Don't say that's what we're doing. Right? But just do it. Just get high and go donate blood. For one, if you're a person with a needle problem, if you're high, you're gonna or eat edibles and donate blood. There we go. But if you're you got that needle problem, right? Well, you get a little high, you're a little less anxious, right? Pain doesn't hurt as much. Time goes a little faster. Wow, man, look at that blood. I'm a long-time blood donor. I've been donating blood for years and years and years. I took some time off because of the tattoo, right? That's the other thing. If you've gotten a tattoo within is it a year or 6 months? I can't remember now. You can't donate blood either. And I don't know. It's hard for me to opine intelligently on this because I don't know enough of the data and the science behind it. But modern tattoo parlors are more sterile than most hospitals. Okay, I'm just saying. They're MRSA in hospitals, man. I don't know. So I don't know if these rules necessarily need to be like this, but maybe this is something we could do because that's the cannabis community. How cool would that be? Having a bunch of people showing up, all with matching T-shirts, normal blood draw or it's normal to give blood, right? And bring a whole raft of cannabis consumers in for a blood donation. Of course, we did that, I suppose. That might bring some attention to the fact that we can donate blood, and then maybe some people get pissed off about that. I don't know, but I don't know. It's the kind of thing I think it'd be such good earned media for the activists that do it. Show cannabis community cares. There we go. Let's create cannabis community cares, and we'll just have cannabis-related events for different charities. We'll do Toys for Tots drives. We'll do blood draw drives. More of that. If we have more of that in our community, we're going to win over, a lot of hearts and minds for people. But recognize that, we're just regular old citizens too. We want to help out when we can help out. We want to be good to each other. And really, isn't that what cannabis is supposed to do for all of us? Right? Kind of bring us closer together. What's more social than a joint circle? You don't see people like passing around a stein of beer, all sharing the same stein, right? Although that's kind of changing too in our community, oddly enough, as we have more access to cannabis, and everybody's got their own joint. Or worse, they've got their own vapor pen now, and they're not passing it around. That could be one of the marks of us old timers. Yeah, we remember back in the day, you couldn't get any weed. You'd have one joint, and everybody would share the same joint. The youngsters will be like, "Ooh, like you all had the same spit. Oh, gross, disgusting." Right? That's old time. Yeah, we didn't get a little spit on a joint. That don't matter. It's all part of the community. Oh, my goodness. Those days are coming, folks, and they're coming very, very quickly. Keep in mind, a sophomore at the University of California, Los Angeles has never not known medical marijuana. They're already halfway through their undergrad degree. Medical marijuana has always existed for these people. The landscape of what marijuana is going to be like over the next 10 years is going to be completely different than what a lot of us have been used to. And it's going to be a good thing, I think.
Look, I inhaled.
Frequently. That was the point. President Obama. Only a few months left for the Chumer-in-Chief. And oddly enough, if either Hillary or Donald Trump are elected, it would be the first president in 3 presidents that hasn't smoked pot. Or so Hillary says.
Legal to listen to all over the world. We're just not sure about France. CannabisRadio.com. The cannabis industry is growing, business is booming, and as new opportunities arise in newly legalized states, each market is getting more competitive. Today, it takes more than just being a good grower. Do you have the resources to market and handle this ever-changing business landscape? Let Canna Management Corporation help you grow your canna business with our vast resources and experience to make your business a fully functional service company. Financial management, HR, sales, marketing, efficiency, and more. CMC has the experience and the expertise to improve your business and help you better meet the demands of your clients and customers. Call Canna Management Corporation and let our team get you ready to grow. 415-269-8015. That's 415-269-8015. Or visit canna-management.com.
Georgia. Hi, this is Willie Nelson. Alcohol prohibition didn't work in the 1920s, and marijuana prohibition isn't working today. It's time we stopped arresting responsible marijuana smokers. It's the fair thing to do.
For more information, contact NORML, the National Organization for the Reform of Marijuana Laws. Call toll-free 888-67-NORML or visit their website at norml.org.
The Russ Belville Show, providing dictionaries to drug czars since 2009.
Hey everybody, it's Radical Russ here from 420 Radio, inviting you to be like me and get your ink done at Lucky Horseshoe Tattoo, Fort Worth's most female-friendly, clean, sterile, awesome tattoo shop. Thomas and his crew are true artists who can design you a custom piece or use a design you bring in. Lucky Horseshoe Tattoo also offers all styles of tattooing as well as piercings and all-around fun.
Pod 2.0. It's not your father's Woodstock weed. This is the Russ Belville Show on CannabisRadio.com.
All right, sorry about that. I don't know what happened. Everything was rolling along just fine, and then everything just paused. I think it was the Spreaker studio, but we're back. Sorry about that. I think I need a new computer. That could be part of the deal. We shall see. All sorts of other stories to get to for you here in hour 2. Thanks for joining us on this Tuesday afternoon.
Stupid Prohibition Stories. As a public service, the Russ Belville Show reminds you that smoking marijuana does not make one stupid. However, some stupid people do smoke marijuana, and prohibition is always waiting for another victim. Learn your lesson from today's Stupid Prohibition Stories.
With your Stupid Prohibition Stories, I'm old-timey 1920s radio reporter Freddie Farrak. This just in from Jackson, Michigan. An inmate involved in a plan to toss a football filled with drugs and cell phones over the fence of a Michigan prison will spend an additional 3 to 5 years in prison. MLive.com reports Monday that 22-year-old Miles Alexander was sentenced Wednesday for his role in the plot. He is already serving up to 4 years in prison for a 2012 felonious assault and discharging a weapon case. The football contained marijuana, heroin, the phones, and chargers. It landed between 2 security fences, but short of the prison exercise yard in June 2014 at the G. Robert Cotton Correctional Facility in Jackson. Kristen D. Moore, who threw the football, was convicted of furnishing contraband to a prisoner. The 24-year-old Moore was paroled in November. I'm Freddie for Rock with your stupid Prohibition story. Oh, that's a good one, Freddie. That's a good one. So you fill the football with marijuana, heroin, cell phones, and cell phone chargers. And then you were surprised you couldn't throw it over two 20-foot security fences 20 feet apart. I don't know what to make of this. First of all, the cat you got to throw the footballs over the fence, not exactly quarterback material, right? Not exactly Brett Favre with a rocket arm, I guess. But second, how heavy would a football full of weed and dope be? I mean, I'm like imagining the size of a football, right? I've held a pound of weed, quarter pound of weed in my hand, right? It wouldn't be that much. It'd be a quarter. Yeah, you could get a quarter pound in a football. I guess so. But I would imagine the phones and the heroin might weigh more. So how much is this football going to end up weighing? And really, how football-y would it be? Wouldn't it? Like, there'd be no air in it, right? There's no way you could keep air in that football, right? So it'd just be this really just leather bag of drugs you're trying to hook over these huge security fences. And do you do any like dry runs at this? like when you're planning this, when your buddy gives you this idea, hey man, just put some weed in a football and throw it over the wall. When he gives you that idea, do you ever test that? Like, go to the nearest, baseball field or high school or any place that's got tall fences and just see, how far you can huck a football that's not filled with air. Here's what I imagine. I imagine the guy says, hey, man, you just fill a football full of weed and throw it to me. And I imagine the guy hearing that goes, oh, shit, yeah, man, I used to throw back in the day. I could huck a football 60 yards, man. I mean... my goodness. All right, so we always want to make this a teachable moment when we hear the stupid prohibition stories. So I guess our teachable moment is don't try to throw drugs into a prison, okay? Just put that on your list of things not to do. Throwing drugs into a prison. There's so many more efficient ways of getting drugs into a prison. Right? This just shows a lack of imagination on your part. My goodness. All right. So that's our stupid prohibition story for the day. Let me get you to some not so stupid news in marijuana. There was a story in New Hampshire. A judge has ruled in favor of a pot grower, tossing out all the evidence of the pot grow. And it was an interesting case because the guy's name was David Brock, first of all. And that name, for you political junkies, will stand out because David Brock used to be a right-wing hitman, kind of, not like assassin, but like, words. A pundit, okay? He was a right-wing hatchet job guy. That's the word I was looking for, hatchet job. So like, he's an assassin? No. He's just, a writer, right? Right-wing. He was this right-wing political hack who... had a crisis of conscience and realized he couldn't support what the right was doing anymore. And now he's with one of Hillary Clinton's PACs. I forget which one, but the PAC that basically hired all the Twitter trolls and Facebook trolls to attack the Bernie Sanders pages and stuff. Anyway, but this isn't that David Brock. This is a different David Brock. So anyway, this guy named David Brock, he's in New Hampshire. Probations and parole officers stopped by his house, found a gallon-sized bag of marijuana and rows of plants. The probation and parole officers were there to check on a parolee named Stephen Stephen Langlois. I'm not how to pronounce his name, but Stephen's his name. So Dave and Steve, okay? Dave and Steve are sharing a place. Steve's on parole. Dave's growing weed. Right there's a problem, right? Like, if you're growing weed, don't have someone in your house that law enforcement can come visit at any time. That's the way parole works, right? You're still under law enforcement supervision. Don't have a roommate who's on parole. And on the other side, if you're on parole, the last place you want to be is someplace there's a marijuana grow. Anyway, so the parolee, Steve's living there. And, I always say it's not smart. Maybe financially, this is all they could do. They were desperate. So I understand. I don't mean to be so callous. But anyway, Steve and Dave are living together. Steve's on probation. The probation parole officers come by to check on Steve. They wanted to find out where he was at. And he says, well, Steve's at an AA meeting, like parolees sometimes have to go to, right? Steve's at an AA meeting. So the cop said, hey, well, can we look around? And so the catch here, though, is that these probation and parole officers weren't coming by there to check on Steve. They knew there was weed in the house because they had a third roommate, Sean, who gave an anonymous tip to the cops that Steve and Dave possessed and smoked marijuana at home. So first of all, fuck you, Sean. What asshole, snitch, douchebag, loser? What the hell's what? Would you have a roommate fight and decide to turn in your roommates? Dickweed. But anyway, Sean gives an anonymous tip. So the probation parole officers, they go to check up on Steve and Dave, and they only did a cursory glance for Steve's room. Oh, yeah, there's Steve's room. And then they're looking everywhere else, right? Because they know there's weed there somewhere. So when the probation parole officers showed up, Dave admitted he smoked pot before they showed up. So, Dave, shut the fuck up. You don't admit shit like that. Although it is New Hampshire, so it is New Hampshire is not decrim. New Hampshire is the only non-decrim state in the New England area. So it's not decrim. So don't admit that shit anyway. So this case goes to court, and the attorney puts forth that, quote, the probation officers, did not focus their attention during the search on Steve's room or on the common areas. They made a mere passing glance into Steve's room, and their entire search of the downstairs only lasted 2 to 3 minutes. So the judge, that's the judge writing this, and the judge ruled that the probation and parole officers did have the authority to enter the house because he got a guy on parole, but their actions moved beyond Steve's supervision and rehabilitation shortly beyond the entry. So the only right the probation officers had to enter was to check on Steve and to see that everything's cool with Steve. So the judge says the mere presence of marijuana did not lead to exigent circumstances justifying a general search of Dave's home, and all the evidence seized as a result of the search could not be used at trial. So the judge ruled correctly, and this small pot growing operation, again, the guy had a gallon-sized bag of weed and a couple rows of plants, so he didn't have tons, right? But thanks to his defense attorney and thanks to this judge, he will now no longer be facing those charges. And again, screw you, Sean, for turning in your roommates. That's disgusting. All right, we're going to take a short break, and when we come back, we'll get into our third segment. More marijuana news, more Toker Talk Radio. Coming to you live from beautiful legal Potland, Oregon. Hey, I'll tell you my Mark Emery story when we come back. That's what we'll do. Stick around.
This is the Russ Belville Show on CannabisRadio.com.
Being green is good. Growing green is good. Making green is great. CannabisRadio.com.
The National Cannabis Industry Association presents the 3rd Annual Cannabis Business Summit and Expo. The most influential business event in the marijuana industry returns for 3 days in Oakland, California. Join your fellow industry leaders and policy influencers June 20th through 22nd for an in-depth educational experience and network with more than 3,000 cannabis professionals. The 2016 Cannabis Business Summit and Expo will feature keynote presentations from California Lieutenant Governor Gavin Newsom and Numi Organic Tea CEO Ahmed Rahim, giving you insight into cutting-edge policy discussions and the most innovative business practices. All this plus the most comprehensive expo floor in the industry. The Cannabis Business Summit and Expo, June 20th through 22nd in Oakland. Don't miss out. Register right now at CannabisBusinessSummit.com and save 15% off registration using promo code RADIO15. That's CannabisBusinessSummit.com, promo code RADIO15.
Doc Rob, the concierge for better living.
My guests say Razzie Berry. We're talking about nature, naturopathic medicine, as well as the concept of prevention and preventing disease.
Empower people to live a naturopathic lifestyle, get to know your body, understand its rhythms, remove toxins, and use natural alternatives whenever possible. 90 to 95% of cancers are due to environment and lifestyle risk factors. I mean, that's a huge number. That means that cancer is preventable.
The concierge for better living with Doc Rob. Only on CannabisRadio.com.
You can find Radical Russ online everywhere. Gmail, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Pinterest, YouTube, SoundCloud, Snapchat, LinkedIn, and Boise State University's 2400 baud modem bulletin board system from 1985.
Get.Buzz. .Buzz is the internet platform that fuels community interest, excitement, and new experiences. .Buzz is the premier online destination for internet users seeking the latest news on a variety of topics. .Buzz appeals to groups active in blogging, communications, journalism, advertising, and marketing. .Buzz offers registrants a stronger alternative to the shrinking namespace of existing top-level domain names, such as .com, .net, and .org. Get your name now at get.buzz.
Warning, hits taken on this show are larger than they appear. Do not try this at home. These people are professionals. Or at least they pay me to say that. This is Dan Michaels from DanMichaelsAudio.com, and you're listening to Radical Russ on CannabisRadio.com.
Welcome back, everybody. 42 after the hour. You know, I was making a quip in one of the last segments about how us old-timers in the weed biz here, how we'll remember the days when we used to pass joints. You used to have to cup a joint, hide the cherry from the cops being able to see it. These will all be old war stories someday. It's 1996 is when California passed medical marijuana, so it's 2016 now, so as of November, it'll be the 20th anniversary of medical marijuana in California. That means like college sophomores now in California. It's been medical all their life. They just have no concept of it not being medical. Pretty much anybody under the age of 30 now, you'd have to say, all the life they can remember when it would have made a difference to them. You know, I like 5-year-olds don't care if marijuana is medical, right? That's my point, right? Anybody 30 or younger, hell, even 35 or younger, right? You'd be 15 years old. If you were 15 in 1996, I guess I was kind of politically aware around age 12. So maybe by age 12, right? If you're 12 in 1996, you're what, going to be 32? 33? I can't do the math in my head. Whatever. But my point is, the younger people, this is no big deal. This is just not even like, why is it illegal? And to the next generation coming up, it'll be hard for them to even conceive of it being illegal. I hope. I mean, I can't imagine that we're going to have this period of intermediate legalization last very long. And by intermediate legalization, I mean where some of the states have it legal and most of them don't. Like where legality is the rare and there's the exception and the prohibition is the rule. We're already at the point with medical. I guess we can compare it to medical, right? Because just now with Ohio, we've hit 25 states that have medical marijuana and 54% of the population in those states, right? So it's taken us 20 years to get to the point where not having medical is the exception. In fact, if you want to include those CBD states, which I don't, but if you did include the CBD states, we're at a point now where there's just 8 states that don't have some kind of medical with cannabis. Those states would be my home state of Idaho, and then those upper Midwest states, North Dakota, South Dakota, Nebraska, Kansas, then Indiana, West Virginia, and Arkansas. All right, our phone lines are open at 971-533-7111, and we've got a call on our phone line from the 863 area code. You're on the air with Toker Talk Radio. What's up?
Hey, man, I'm just calling from Florida over here. I remember one time when I passed a joint to somebody, and it was you.
Oh, fantastic. What's happening?
Hey, man, what's going on? I was just listening to the shows, and I'm just been like, I just want what you guys have over here, and I just wish all these people that are stoners against legalization would just get it in their heads that they're wrong, and they need, because once that happens, the rest of the country will fall state by state or whatever, and eventually it'll get to Florida, and eventually maybe the whole country. And,
yeah.
So
that's what I tell people is like, don't think that you're just voting for your own state. Like if you're, Florida, these states are going to go in a certain order, and we can't predict exact order, but it's not going to be Texas or Florida's turn until it's California's. I can tell you that, right? California's going to have to pass it before Florida does, I think.
Yeah, man. Yeah. That's what I'm saying. The stoners against legalization, you're holding up the process. Like
That's right.
Said, you're holding up the process.
Have you had a chance to go to a legal state yet?
Yeah, I went to Colorado in February.
Oh yeah,
during the Super Bowl.
Oh, Super Bowl in Colorado. That must have been a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun, and like you said, you can choose whatever kind of cannabis you want, and like you said, what am I smoking on? I have no idea what I'm smoking on because I'm in a illegal state.
That's
still,
right. You're smoking on got some.
Got some. Yeah, it's better than normal, but it's got some still. I don't know what it is, so until I know what it is, it's got some.
It's got some for sure, man. I do a lot of events in Florida, and every time first of all, when I'm in Florida, it costs me $100 to buy a quarter. So that's a problem right there. $100 a quarter is a little problematic when you're used to $100 an ounce or $100 a half when it gets to $100 a quarter. But there's also that paranoid dread, man, just living under that paranoid dread. And after you get out to a legal state and you go back to it, did you feel like you could feel it more?
Yeah, because when you're there, you're like, you're worried about having a container, not in the bag.
Mm-hmm.
And the guy that I was, renting a room from was like, don't worry about it. It's not a big deal. I have all those paranoid things that I'm bringing from Florida. And then you do kind of feel like people say you're free. And I'm in my mind, I'm like, I'm not free until I can smoke a joint just like anybody else on the other side of the country or whatever,
Yeah. Yeah, and it's hard to figure out why this would be, what is it about Florida, man, that just they don't want it to be legal when you look at these other states and everything they said bad that would happen didn't happen. So what's the holdup?
Well, you got people like the governor and the attorney general who after a tragedy happens come down to Orlando and say that they're for gay people, and then their record before that is totally against, what they've been saying.
Oh, yeah.
So you have to deal with that kind of mentality is what I'm saying. And
Yeah. And
have all these religious people.
It's not always the mentality, too. It's sometimes the business ties. Isn't Governor Scott's wife like a shareholder in a drug testing company or something like that?
Yeah, and
or on the
he
board
also,
or something.
and Rick Scott was convicted of frauding, doing insurance fraud or some kind of healthcare fraud with seniors, and he still got elected in Florida. So I don't know. That kind of tells you all you need to know right there.
I guess so, man. The Florida, the state full of seniors, you're convicted of defrauding seniors, and then the seniors elect you. Well, I guess you got that coming, I guess. I don't know how that explains that, man.
That's. I feel, and especially in the county that I live in, I feel like I'm a rare breed just being a Democrat sometimes.
Yeah, understand that. I grew up in Idaho. when you're blue in Idaho, you feel like a blueberry in a bowl of tomato soup.
I'm sure it's as bad as the county. I'm sure it's as bad as the county I live in.
Yeah.
I remember the stories you told me.
Yeah, but they're having some change in Florida though. I know there's I don't remember how many cities and counties it is now. I know it's like Volusia and Broward and Miami-Dade counties have all got decrim now.
Yeah, and Tampa and Orlando's. I think it passed the second meeting reading.
Yeah, and a lot of those beach cities, Daytona Beach and Miami Beach, Key West, I think, has got the decrim now. So I think it's happening slowly but surely. Of course, you know how Florida is. The farther north you get, the more south you get, and it's going to be hard to pass up in Tallahassee.
Yeah, I trust me, it's a culture shock even for me driving through North Florida.
Right on, man. Well, I don't want to give anyone your name just because you might want to be keeping that secret. But did we enjoy Dr. Bud?
Yeah, Dr. Bud made drinks for us.
That's right. Okay, just so I'm just refreshing my mind. I know who I'm talking to. It's really good to hear from you.
Yeah. You might say I wear sunglasses at night only because they're prescription sunglasses.
That's right. That's right. I remember. Right on, man. Yeah, this is a pal that I met in Orlando, and we went to the Universal Studios Orlando, and they wouldn't let me in with my pop belt buckle. Bastards. But yet they had a big Bob Marley tribute banner, how they're going to celebrate the legacy of Bob Marley. I'm like, how are you going to celebrate the legacy of Bob Marley and not show a pot leaf?
Yeah, and like Dr. Bud said, all the musicians that come in there and play the club, they're out smoking out in their dressing room or wherever they're at. They're smoking, so it's kind of hypocritical. So
yeah, and it's going to be a while before they are able to accept the idea that kids can see pot. That's really what's freaking them out right now. Is that they don't even blink an eye walking their kids by a bar with an open patio and people drinking. They don't make them. There's no moral judgment of people drinking, even though we know that kids shouldn't drink. We don't think that kids seeing drinking is bad because we expect that when they become adults, they might want to drink. And we haven't made that cultural leap yet for marijuana, right? Even in the states now, where marijuana is legal, out here in Oregon and Colorado, there's still, we can't have it seen by the children. Why? Because they might grow up and want to smoke pot? That's their right. It's legal here.
Yeah.
It's amazing, man. Well, thanks for calling in. It's been great hearing from you, man. And good luck on everything going on in Florida. We're gonna try and get that medical marijuana passed for you this year, and I think it could pass this year.
Oh, that would be great, and it would be even better if I could get a job in the industry somehow.
Well, I know some people in Florida. I'll put in a good word for you once something happens down there.
Oh, that would be awesome.
Awesome,
you don't know how much that would be. That would be awesome if that worked.
Well, I tell you, when medical marijuana passes, this is the thing too. Is like sometimes people get all worked up in like whether or not they'll be able to be a grower or own a dispensary, and I'm like, why not start just working at one? Wouldn't that be okay? Work at a dispensary, become a trimmer.
That's exactly what I was going to say.
Yeah, get a job. All right. Well, we'll work on that for you, man. Thanks for calling in. Appreciate your call.
All right, man. I appreciate you doing what you do.
Thanks. I'll keep doing it.
All right, man. Thanks. All right. Bye.
Thanks. And 971-533-7111 is the phone line. 971-533-7111. And yeah, that's all it has to be, man. It could be as easy as us just chilling, chatting, talking what's going on about your area, right? What's happening where you're at. Part of this Toker Talk Radio was to make it the voice of the Marijuana Nation, and that meant let's hear from the Marijuana Nation, not just us that have legal weed. It's good here. We got our problems, but it's pretty good here. Let's hear from Oklahoma. Let's hear from North Dakota. Let's hear from Maine, Vermont, Tennessee, Texas. We want to get we want to share this as a community and work on this together. And let the people in these states like California know that Texas and Florida and Louisiana and all these other states are counting on them to move the ball forward.
This is the Russ Belville Show on CannabisRadio.com.
Cannabis use isn't the only thing growing. So are we. Grow with us. CannabisRadio.com.
Great websites today need expert web design and development and need to be e-commerce ready and mobile friendly. But building a marketable and profitable website can be an uphill climb. Ready to make your new website or replace your existing website? Think Orange as the new way to get in the black. Orange Hill Development works with Fortune 500 companies and offer the same top quality development service at a fraction of what other providers charge. Brands like Absolute, Carlsberg, and Nestea trust Orange Hill Development. Find out why you should trust your website with Orange Hill. Contact Orange Hill for a consultation today at orangehilldevelopment.com.
It's time for cannabis facts about Alzheimer's from Robert Platshorn's thesilvertour.org. This message is supported by our donors and Hemp Inc., a public company poised to lead America's hemp revolution at hempinc.com. A new Florida study in the journal Molecular and Cellular Neuroscience found that cannabis promotes the growth of healthy new brain tissue. It can slow the effects of Alzheimer's and may in fact be able to halt it entirely. A long-term study by Ohio State University's Professor Gary Wenk concludes that people who regularly use marijuana get Alzheimer's at a much lower rate than others. This was Cannabis Facts from thesilvertour.org, an educational nonprofit supported by our donors and Hemp Inc., a public company poised to lead America's hemp revolution at hempinc.com.
The Russ Belville Show reminds you to never smoke and drive impaired.
Well, kind of ran out of time, didn't I? Okay, that's all the time we got for today. I thought we had another segment, but nope, apparently not. We're up against the back of the clock, so time for us to call it a day. Thanks for joining us here. Thanks for your calls. We'll be back tomorrow with more news and interviews you can use for the cannabis community. For everyone here at CannabisRadio.com, I'm Radical Russ. We'll talk to you tomorrow. Until next time, take care of each other, tokers.
This is the Russ Belville Show. The Russ Belville Show is blogging and podcasting daily at RadicalRuss.com.
You take a seed, you plant it, you grow it, you dry it, you roll it, you smoke it. You take a seed, you plant it, you grow it, you